Brand disclaimer. The views and opinions expressed by individuals on this platform, the callers plus invited guests, are their own. The information you hear does not reflect the overall views of all parties associated with this brand. We encourage everyone to research all things heard live or via archive for edification purposes. Discretion is advised.
Don't touch that dial. You're now listening to Debate Talk Free Radio.
Help keep the show on the air. If you want to help, you can send your donation through PayPal. The email is debatetalkforyou@gmail.com or through Cash App, $Sal Showtime. Thanks for your support.
Hey, what's happening, everyone out there? It's your girl, Sister Shan-T, back after a brief hiatus from Debate Talk for You. And this is season 10, the last semester, I call it. And Sister Ashanti is back with another segment of the second quarter. I want to say shalom, shalom, mishpachah w'habarim. That means peace and wellness to family and friends out there. I want to say today's topic is called Love Your Enemies. What's it look like? And first and foremost, I want to say this. Ko tehelim ko kabo wahatiperes le Yahweh Abinu Eloheinu. That is all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, our Father, our God, our deity, our power. And tonight's topic was brought up from a sister who's going to formally introduce herself in a little while. And it's a topic that I think is well overdue, and it could be looked at from so many different angles, so many aspects, so many different perspectives. So we're going to have a good conversation and dialogue tonight about it. Love your enemies. What's it look like? But before we have our special guest introduce herself, I want to bring my bro in. Y'all know him as Brother B to the Izzy. I know him as BKA, Mr. Hammer and Sickle. So, Brother B.A., go ahead, speak to the people.
Oh, you got BA on the line?
Is BA on the line? He's supposed to be on the line.
Nah. Nah, not
okay.
yet.
All right. Hey, that's funny because I was just talking to the brother. I said we got to call in. He might be having some technical difficulties, but yeah, when he get on or if he get on,
hold up. I think I see him now. He just made it. BA, what's going on, family? What's up?
Yes, sir. What's good? What's the word? Praise the Most High in the name of His only anointed, known as Yeshua the Christ. I'm your brother B.A. Ben Abraham. Much love to all.
Thank you, Brother B.A. You made it. You know what I mean? I was gonna start doing a shout song, but I'm not gonna do that right now. But I got a special guest on the line. Her name is I'll let her introduce herself, but she is actually the individual who sparked an interest for me to want to have a discussion about this topic that we're getting into tonight. So go ahead and introduce yourself, sis.
Hello, everyone. Peace and blessings to everyone. My name is Kalita Jordan. I'm just an ordinary, regular old schmegular me. And the question, about how does loving your enemies look, came to me one day as I was just surveying people's responses to others that don't agree. And myself being raised Christian and from a Christian background, I feel like there should be a different perspective if you say you're following Christ. It should include inclusion. You should be including everyone in this love journey. And, I just wanted to kind of prick the minds of some of my, fellow people who love the Bible thump, or those who say they follow the scripture, of, to really challenge yourself. Are you really walking in love? What does that look like? What does that look like when someone doesn't agree with you? I don't want to get too much into it too soon, but, that's I'm on a love journey, and I just wanted to see what that journey looks like for other people as well as me.
Hallelujah, hallelujah. I definitely appreciate you coming on, sis, being willing to be open, to be transparent, to have this conversation, to be open to understand and get a comprehension of how people come to their perspectives, and also how can we better look like what we claim or proclaim we're supposed to be living. How can we be showing love? How can we exhibit that on a day-to-day basis? How is that supposed to appear to other people, right? So before we get into this thing, Sal, do you have any announcements?
Hey, all I want to say is, Shan-T, welcome back to Debate Talk with you. Welcome back. And we appreciate everybody here. Of course, I'm looking forward to the content tonight. Take it away.
For sure. Okay, so as Sister Kalita was saying, I'll give a brief synopsis of how we came to tonight's topic. So Sis Kalita here, I actually haven't met Kalita physically or personally, but she knows a lot of my people, my relatives, and that's how we actually met, through online. We met through Facebook, and we converse at times. And she always has some interesting posts on Facebook, and one of them caught my attention, and that's because I've dabbled in it before on a second quarter segment of some time back, and in the comment section, somebody had something to say about, I'm not going to love my enemies or whatnot. So Sis Kalita here, she had a post that said, hey, for people who are Christian, what does that look like? Now, let me explain, because I know some people on here, they listen to people like me and BA, and they know what we do and everything like that. Yes, we are Messianic. We're still considered Christian because, we believe in Yeshua the Messiah or Jesus the Christ, right? We may not have our main rest day on Sunday. We have our rest day on Sabbath, all right? No issues there. So Sister Kalita asked this question in the Facebook post, and I saw some of the comments, and she had a good amount of comments, a good amount of responses. People actually put in some text. They put in some passages from the New Testament, the Big Kadashah, and a lot of people have some great things to say. There was some pretty much fruits of the Spirit, the characteristics of the Father that we're supposed to be exuding and exhibiting from one to another. And one of the comments or responses that Kalita was saying was that since and we're going to get into a little bit of politics, but since some of the evangelicals are starting to side with Trump, and some of his policies are supporting him for the reelection, supporting him through this impeachment process, whatever not. A lot of people look at Trump as who can be considered an enemy of some sort, right? But I'll let my sister Kalita further explain, and then we'll move on from there, and then we'll look at some text and see, is the concept of loving your enemy even scriptural? Can we find it in the Tanakh? Can we find it in the Torah, Navi'im, Ketuvim, or what's known as the instructions, the prophets, and the writings? Can we find it there? I know we can find it in the New Testament, but can we find it in the main in the main foundation of the scriptures? So, Sis Kalita, go ahead.
Okay. So the question was, how can you be of a Christian stance and side with Trump's ideas and ideologies and then try to use that against your own people? Like, if you say that you are about loving people, can you also love people who don't agree with you or that aren't in the same mindset with it as you? And we all know we live in a day and age where if someone doesn't agree with you or someone doesn't have the same mindset as you, you're quick to block, unfollow, disconnect. But how can you have a dialogue with someone that you don't agree with? You know what I mean? I think that's important. That was the point I was trying to make. I think it's important to have a dialogue with someone you don't agree with. I think that is basically, people really want to be understood and respected. I feel like that is the basis for a loving relationship, is to being understood and to be respected. And really, for me, that's all it really takes to show love to, on a basic level, to someone, is to really understand where they're coming from and respect their position, even if you don't agree. Because I don't agree with you doesn't mean I don't respect where you're coming from. So, my question was, what about those who decided to side with Trump? How can you say that you are loving to everybody if you're against people having access to health care, or if you're for the wall, or if you're against people having a right to choose what happens to their body? Like, in a loving relationship, you understand where someone's coming from and you respect it. It doesn't mean you have to agree, but you respect where they're coming from.
Right, I agree with that. But before I ask BA if he has any response, I should have said this in the beginning too. If you want to call in and have some questions, concerns, or comments during this entire dialogue, or you want to come in and chime in on the conversation and sit down a little bit with us, then that's cool. The number is 319-527-6239. Once again, 319-527-6239. Press the 1 to come in and talk. All right. Brother BA, you have anything to respond or add to what Sister's saying?
Greetings to the sister. I didn't catch her first name, but I think I caught her last name, Sister Jones. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Talita Jordan.
Jordan, okay. I'm going to call you, you said Talia or Celia?
Kalita.
Like a K.
Kalita. Okay, Kalita. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for coming on and sharing your opinion and your views and things that you see that's going on within our society today. It's very important. I think as believers, we spend too much time dealing with the minor things that we have disagreements over than actually dealing with the society that we live in. And we are products of our environment. We are a product of this society. So it's very important to speak on these matters. Now, I used to drink to the cup of, if you were not a believer in Christ, I consider you with him. I used to have that view, and I used to be very strong, and I made that. I used to voice that very loud years past. Now that I've matured and gotten older, I realized that's not the way to approach everybody, because I found out that I can make Christ a stumbling block to those who may be struggling with him. So I do agree. If you have differences with people, it's best not to go with the stereotypes of why you think they disagree with you and try to find out. Like we always say, me and the Shan-T, disagree to understand. That's what the elder told me a couple of years ago. Disagree with a person, but understand why there's a disagreement. Because over the years, I could have found out that I've had various disagreements with a lot of people. But at the same time, I then find out that we also have a lot in common as well. Just through simple, organic, human conversation. Keyword, communicate. With that, I'm going to fall back.
Yes, communication is a big word. Absolutely. And I agree with that. I was raised I was raised Pentecostal, namely the Church of God in Christ, and for a long time I thought we were the only people that Black Pentecostals at that. We're the only people that are going to make it to heaven, and everyone else was wrong. For a long time I thought, into my early teen years I thought that way. And me personally, my father, my full name is Khalida Sabrine Rashida Jordan. And those of you that study the Nation of Islam will know that's an original name. So my father studied the Nation of Islam. He never converted to Islam, but he studied it. So he passed down some of those teachings to me as a young child as well. So thank goodness I've always had a broader understanding of it's just one way. I believe, though, everyone has a journey. My father always told me that there's only one God. I don't care where you go, what you do. There's only one God, and people worship him in different ways. So what I've found when I have conversations with people from different faiths and religious backgrounds is that we have some commonality. Whether you study Buddha, whether you study the Torah, whether you study the Quran, whether you study the Bible, we have things in common. We have truth in common that we all can come to a consensus with. We may not agree with the method of every way, but there is truth. There are truths out there, and there's one God. So that with that understanding, I've been able to sit down with people who don't believe the same as me and not look at them as an enemy. And I mean very, very drastic viewpoints as me, and not look at them as an enemy, but first receive them as a human person, as a being here on this earth, and then really respect and understand where they're coming from, why they choose the practice they choose. Western civilization is totally different if I were to go over to the other side of the world. Even in my own religious faith, they would still worship differently. They would still have a different path than what I have. That doesn't make them wrong. It's based on their experiences, on their upbringing, on their culture. All of that, has impact on how we choose to walk this journey. But one thing that can always remain the same no matter where you find yourself, that is the language of love. And that's to seek to get an understanding, like you were saying.
Right. Wow. Thank you for that. I mean, BA and I are on the same page. Because BA and I, like, we do read the Quran. We may read text. We read to understand, not to necessarily adhere to. And then you find out like what you do have in common, and you want to come together and build on that and through that. And then that's how you can start to progress and get somewhere. We do have one caller. So Sal, you can go ahead and bring in the caller. Tell them to come on in.
All right, we go to the phone. This is the second quarter. The title of the show, Love Your Enemy, What It Looked Like. The number is 319-577-6239. Let's go to the caller. Let's go to 972. You're live.
Hello. Hi. My name is Asher. This is, I'm calling from Jerusalem. This is actually only the second time I'm listening to this program. I discovered it yesterday with the guest that you guys had last night, Afran. I know him here from Israel. Anyway, I enjoyed the program last night, and I decided to tune in tonight because I work American hours and whatever, it's 3 o'clock here, and I thought I'll listen in. I originally called in when I saw the topic, and as I was listening in on the queue before it came in, the conversation sort of shifted, and I thought it was quite interesting. I believe the woman who's hosting, she said she was raised Pentecostal. I too was raised in a Pentecostal church. I grew up Church of God in Christ Jesus Apostolic. Anyway, about 12 years ago, I converted to Rabbinic Judaism, and 10 years ago I moved to Israel, and I've been living here. So I appreciate this platform because it's something refreshing about hearing people that sort of have a similar background as me and a commitment to religiosity. But I say all that to say, I apologize if I'm just rambling, but I say all that to say just to give background on the context of what I'm about to say. So the question I have for you guys, as far as the idea of loving your enemy, it's a very interesting idea because this is a very Christian idea, yeah? And I understand that you guys have a basis of Torah, but like, for example, in traditional Judaism, there's the whole idea of Amalek, which is like a nation that's the enemy of Israel. And in traditional Judaism, it's the complete opposite of what you got with the idea of loving your neighbor without wanting to create dissent or getting to a disagreement between traditional Judaism and New Testament Christianity, which I don't know if is relevant or not. But how does one who is an adherent to New Testament Christianity reconcile the more traditional views from Tanakh, particularly when you come to the ideas of Amalek, where like there's a mitzvah, there's a commandment from Hashem for Bnei Israel to completely get rid of Amalek, which is the sort of the antithesis of loving your enemy. I apologize if I ramble too much.
No, you didn't
That's my
ramble.
question.
Hey, BA, before he goes, I do want to say shalom to you, Asher, and praise the Most High that you are listening to the show. Thank you for coming on. You did say that love your enemy is a Christian concept, and I definitely understand that. Well, let me ask you this. I did get the understanding early on that because I studied rabbinic Judaism, but I haven't converted. Just because, you know, I have my reasons for that. But Proverbs 25 and 21, because I know for you would mainly deal with Tanakh. Do you ascribe to Proverbs Mishle, the rulings or teachings? Do you ascribe to that book? Do you believe in that book?
I mean, yeah, I would say that I accept the Tanakh in its entirety. I just Googled. I apologize. I'm not a biblical scholar. I don't pretend to be, but so I Googled really quick what you're talking about.
My bad. You say
it's okay. I'm in front of the computer, so
it's all good, bro.
I Googled it really quick. It's amazing. It's amazing.
No
so I'm reading
good,
it. I hear what you're saying.
Can you read?
Sure.
Can you read, or do you have a Tanakh in front of you?
Yeah. I have it in front of me. So
can you read? Can you read
it.
Proverbs 25:21 and let me know what that means to you?
Absolutely. So first of all, this is on BibleGateways.com. It looks like it's the New International Version. This interpretation is Proverbs 25:21 through 22. If your enemy is hungry, give him food to eat. If he is thirsty, give him water to drink. In doing this, you heap the burning coals of his head, and the Lord will reward you. So, I mean, this is an interesting passage. I appreciate you bringing it to my attention. I don't have a response. If I'm honest, I don't have a response to it. But I think there is a massive difference. If I can sort of just reply, I think there is a massive difference between like interpersonal interactions and like the interactions of like the klal of the nation, right? So I imagine, I don't know, and I'm not a biblical scholar, I'm not pretending to be, but I imagine if there isn't a contradiction between like the obligation to get rid of Amalek, which of course like no one really understands today what is Amalek, right? There's a big question of who Amalek has been. Like there are many rabbinic Jews who will say like obviously Nazism was an example of Amalek, or today there are certain political movements throughout the Middle East that people say like obviously that's an example of Amalek. And I think maybe the interpretation is anyone who is an enemy of the Jewish people is easily Amalek, right? But as far as the proverbs that you just gave me, it's something I reflect on, which I think really the inspiration for my call is to try to understand that how one reconciles those two ideas. I appreciate the scripture.
Thank you.
Hey, are you still there, brother?
I'm sorry?
Hello? You still? Hey, I want to go to one more scripture with you, my man. Is that cool?
Yeah. By all means, yeah.
Let's turn to Proverbs 24 real quick.
Proverbs 24. 1 second. Sorry.
So, hey, bro, it's all good. We all human beings, man. One thing about Debate Talk for you, man, we welcome all people. We welcome all different beliefs. It's always good to build and hear different views, different opinions. And when it comes to halakha, me and the sister Shan-T, man, we most definitely read into the oral traditions. We're familiar with it. She's a little bit more skilled than I am in it because I just started doing it in the last couple of months. But when it comes to halakha, I most definitely have an interest in it because I see there's a lot of there's a lot in it that most definitely are. That there is some good there. I can't sit back and just say everything is bad. I would not ever say that. But halakha,
Yeah.
I understand. I most definitely do.
So I have Proverbs 24. It's one. It says, "Do not envy the wicked. Do not desire their company, for their heart plots violence, and their lips talk and make trouble." I assume that's what you.
You said 24 or 34? 24.
Oh, I'm sorry. 24.
No, it's all good.
And then, in which verse?
Go to verse 17, I believe.
Verse 17. Do not gloat when your enemy falls. When they stumble, do not let your heart rejoice. Or the Lord will see and disapprove and turns his wrath away from them. No, for sure. Even like I served in the IDF, and even in I remember when I did my tour to my basic training, I remember this coming up that we don't rejoice in the falling of our enemy. Do you know what I mean? Like we don't stand over someone. So I mean, I think this is deeply interwoven into Jewish, into traditional Jewish culture or halakhic beliefs. Like for example, I'm sure you guys are familiar. Like when under halakha, like if you take a territory, you're not allowed to destroy the trees, right? You're not allowed to burn the land. You're not allowed to do anything that will cause future generations pain. So yeah, I mean, I guess you guys have given me some clarity on that. May I ask if I may, just one more question before I just get off, because I would like to know if you guys can just talk a little bit more about the like the foundation, the perspective of this channel, this platform, because I see on the thumbnail of the website there's a Torah scroll, and I guess I'm trying to understand like what is the overall hashkafa, like the perspective of the platform and the people who enjoy listening to your program, if that's okay.
What we can do, that we have a pretty much overall. What we can do, we can keep it with you, brother, and talk about
Fair
that.
Thank you.
Some other time. But yeah, we appreciate your words, we appreciate your concerns, your comments, most definitely, man. But just real quick. The debate talk for you. We're our platform. We have various debates, so we have various shows where we have organic conversations, try to understand each other as human beings, as believers in this walk. When it comes to the Creator known as Hashem. Hello.
Yeah, he pretty much left, but go ahead.
Okay, all right. Yeah, so that's so brother, what we can do. Go ahead, sis. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I said, but brother, if you're still listening, you can subscribe to the YouTube channel. There's Debate Talk for You on YouTube. Debate Talk letter 4 and you subscribe. Sal, I can't remember the email at this moment, but we also have an email account. And send us your questions. And we'll get back to you and give you more clarity on what you would like to find out about our platform overall.
Yeah, you can just email me, man. DebateTalkForYou@gmail.com. That's debatetalk the number 4, letter U @gmail.com. If you don't know the time for the program, it's 8 p.m. Eastern Time, Monday to Friday. Check us out on Blog Talk Radio. We appreciate your call, brother.
Go ahead, sister. The floor is yours.
I'll fall back for a minute. I'll simmer down for a minute if Sister Khalida wants to say something, and then after her, I'll speak.
I really enjoyed the brother's viewpoint that came on and spoke from Jerusalem. That's amazing. Just again, thank you for your viewpoint and your input and your knowledge. I will say that when I responded originally on the post, one of my friends, actually it was my cousin, responded with giving the benefit of grace. That's how it looks like for him. And when you think about grace, it's the opportunity to be kind when you necessarily don't have to. And I guess it goes back to the scripture that you pointed out, is feeding your enemies. You know what I mean? Like, would you give someone that is opposed to you something to eat if you saw them hungry? And that's just dealing with a level of compassion. The scripture says over in Romans 12, let love be without dissimulation. Abhor or hate which is evil, and cleave to the things that are good. And again, that goes back to just finding that common thread with everybody. Even if you don't agree with someone, you know that person is human. If you see them struggling, not hustling, not trying to get over, not trying to scandalize, not trying to manipulate, but really struggling, and you're in the position to be gracious, why wouldn't you just extend that grace? What would it affect you to extend grace to someone who is in a real human condition? And I think, that is a language, again, that can span across the world, and really unite us as a people.
Yeah. You said Romans 12. There's a passage I want to go to in Romans 5, but not right now. But I do want to say this, like, you said being kind to someone, giving them the benefit of the doubt. The thing is, when you're being kind to someone, you give somebody who's hateful towards you, who's hostile towards you, who's adversarial towards you, pretty much somebody who shares a differing outlook, or a different perspective, or a different way of something. That's what it means to be an enemy, right? However, sometimes I don't think people realize we, as human beings, children of the Most High Yahweh, or Hashem, or the Lord God of Israel, we are at sometimes the enemy to the Most High Yahweh when we don't do what He asks us to do, or when we don't do what He asks us not to do, right? When you give somebody, when you're being kind to somebody, you give them the opportunity to turn from anything evil or wicked in their way, right? You give them the chance to realize and come to their senses or whatever. You give them an opportunity to look inside themselves, examine themselves, and reevaluate themselves to see if they're doing things in a loving manner. Do I want you to get better, be better, and do better as a human being, as an individual? Do I want you to do that? Do I want you to come over into loving the Most High Yahweh so you could be a blessed person, so you can extend and have those blessings flow to your family and your friends, your loved ones? You know what I mean? You mentioned the word grace. Grace is favor. If somebody does you a favor, you're getting something given to you as a gift that's unmerited. You don't deserve it, and we mess up so many times. We make mistakes so many times. We transgress and go against the Most High's will, and we stray from the path so many times. But that favor, that grace, the Most High allows us, acting as His enemies at that time, He gives us an opportunity to come back. That's restoration. That's repentance. That's what you said. It's a human concept to love. We're supposed to bring humanity back through love to the Most High Yahweh, the Lord God of Israel. Right? Let me read something from Micah chapter 2. Micah chapter 2, verse 8. Actually, let me start from verse 1. Let me just start from verse 1 to give some context. And I'm going to read from the scriptures ISR. And go here. Woe to those plotting wickedness and working out evil upon their beds. In the light of the morning they practice it, because it is in the might of their hand. Now, this is the word of Yahweh that came to Micah of Moresheth in the days of Yotham, Ahaz, Hezekiah, kings of Judah, which he saw concerning Samaria and Jerusalem. Right? Because what? This is for the transgression of Jacob and the sins of the house of Israel. So who is the Most High talking to? His people. And we claim to be His people, correct? Now, let me continue with verse 2 of Micah chapter 2. But my kicker is verse 8. And they coveted fields and seized them, also houses, and took them away. And they oppressed a man and his house, a man and his inheritance. Therefore, thus said Yahweh, see, Against this clan I am planning evil, from which you do not remove your necks, nor walk proudly, for this is a time of evil. In that day one shall lift up a proverb against you, and he shall lament with a bitter lamentation, and shall say, we have been utterly ravaged. He changes the inheritance of my people, how he removes it from me. He apportions our fields to the backslider. Therefore, you shall have no one in the assembly of Yahweh to divide the land by lot. You do not preach, they preach. They do not preach to these. Reproaches are not turned back. Are you called house of Jacob or Jacob? Has the spirit of Yahweh been limited? Are these his doings? Do not my words do good to the one walking uprightly? Verse 8, and lately my people have risen up as an enemy. In other words, and lately my people have risen up like an enemy. You strip off the robe with the garment from those who trust you as they pass by, those returning from battle. You have driven the women of my people from their pleasant houses. You have taken away my splendor from their children forever. Arise and go, for this is not your rest, because uncleanness destroys and destruction is grievous. If a man walking after wind and falsehood has lied, I preach to you of wine and of strong drink. He shall be the preacher of this people. I shall certainly gather all of you, O Jacob. I shall bring together the remnant of Israel, put them together like sheep of the fold, like a flock in the midst of the pasture, they being noisy because of men. The breach maker shall go up before them. They shall break out and pass through the gate and go out by it, and their king pass before them with Yahweh at their head. The kicker was verse 8. Lately my people have risen up like an enemy. When we what? Oppress people, when we go against the Most High Yahweh will. Go ahead, B.A. You want to say something?
No, I'm agreeing. Go ahead and finish up since I'm going to have to be done. I was just agreeing with you.
I have nothing to say further. I just wanted to put that out. I mean, we just going to keep talking and put some things out on the table here for us to start to start processing in our mind about what it means to love the enemy. We can be an enemy sometime to Yahweh. But go ahead, Ben. Go ahead.
We most definitely, man, overall, as a whole, has been the enemy of the Most High. So he knows how long. And we try as believers, we try to be more like for us who believe in Christ, we try to be more like Christ, because Christ is the one that we understand and believe to show us how to walk according to how the Father sees fit. When he says he is the way, the truth, and the life, he is showing you that he is the example. He is showing you his lifestyle, his walk, his personal relationship with the Most High Hashem is what's going to be there should be an example for all people to live by. I know there are people who don't believe in that, and that's fine. But for us who believe in Christ, that's why we recognize him. Now, another thing is very important. The Father has forgiven. The Father forgives. Just said earlier how many times we mess up with the Most High. We keep going, and we keep messing up, and guess what? We're given the opportunity to get right. The Father does forgive. I want to go to an example. Can we go to Genesis chapter 3 real quick?
Come on, B.A.
I'll read from King James. I like to read from various translations. The King James, and we're going to go to Genesis chapter 3. And we're going to pick it up at verse, let's see. Forgive me for one moment. We're going to go to verse 21. And this is after the fall. But notice this. This is something that we don't recognize. Unto Adam also and to his wife did Yahweh or Hashem make coats of skin and clothe them. After they willingly disobeyed his commandments, what did he do? He clothed
cared for them.
That's forgiveness. I remember an elder years ago said, there's nowhere in the Torah we're commanded to forgive our enemies. That's New Testament only. And I'm like, well, it's right here in the Torah. It's right here. Just because we don't see it verbatim, but we see the action. So now all of a sudden, when we have this concept or this mindset to where I don't verbally see it, we have taken the living word of Hashem and we've reduced it down to textbook. It's deeper than textbook. We have to see what's going. We have to see beyond the pages. You have to look at the picture. What's the title? Forgiveness. What does it look like? You have to look beyond reading, thus saith the Lord, you shall not forgive or you should forgive. It goes deeper than that. Verse, we just read it, Genesis chapter 3, verse 21. We may not see anything that says he forgave them, but we see the action. And does not the Spirit manifest through action? Is not Hashem a spirit? These are things that we have to realize. How can we see these things? Hold on. Like Christ said, how are you going to understand the spiritual things when you can't understand the simple things?
Right. First natural, then
I'm going
spiritual.
to fall back.
I love that. I love that point that you brought up. And I feel like it is a sinful nature to feel like you can earn your own righteousness. And it is a sinful nature to feel like I am more righteous than she. The first thing Adam cried out, it was the woman. You know what I mean? It's her fault. I'm more righteous than she because she did it. That is our sinful nature. And really, God's love is not earned. It's not performance-based. It is free to the murderer. It's free to the pedophile. It's free to the atheist. It's free to everybody, to those we consider in society the lowest of the lows. God's love still reaches there. There's nothing anyone has to do to earn it. You don't have to perform to receive it. You just have to accept it as truth. Period.
Right. I understand enemies, and the Most High said he has enemies. But check this out: what he's going to do to the enemies. Deuteronomy 32:35. Vengeance is mine, and repayment. At the time their foot slips, for near is the day of their calamity, and the matters prepared are hastening to them. Vengeance is mine, and repayment. So the Most High is going to avenge. The Most High is going to repay. Enemies.
Absolutely.
And at times, like Sis said, thinking that we're self-righteous, being self-righteous and overly righteous, thinking that I'm better than the next person, thinking I can't fall, thinking I can't stumble, thinking I can't make a mistake, thinking because I do certain things of the Torah more or better than the next person doesn't give us the right to think we're more than, we're better than, or are earning our righteousness, earning it. We will get rewarded for the good works. We understand that. We will get rewarded for the good works, but we're not supposed to use our good works to boast. We're supposed to have our works as acts of faith, showing our faith, showing that we believe and trust in the Most High Yahweh, that he's going to do what he says he's going to do. That's pretty much what our works are. Our works are to show our faith, not to brag and boast, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, and God does
deaf.
bring judgment. We have to leave that to God. God has laws and principles, and those are unchangeable. And even in the garden, the law was death, period. And the principle was grace. And so even though we died a spiritual death, grace saved us from a natural death. I mean, so even though we died a spiritual death, grace saved us from a natural death. So when you sow in evil, you're going to reap evil. But that's not our place to put that judgment in. Our place is to establish grace. Because you're going to go through that process. As long as you're walking and you're alive and you're walking this journey, you're going to walk through a process of purification in your life. Cause
Right.
and effect. I mean, it's simple principles. It's going to happen. It's going to happen in some area of your life where you'll come to an understanding that the way you have been walking is wrong. And now you have to make a decision on, are you going to make the right choice? And if you don't make the right choice, the funny thing is you'll circle right back around into that until you learn the lesson that you're supposed to learn. And a lot of people are walking in circles, and sometimes it's hard to see them do that, but that's the way God designed it.
Right. I say we should, to me, the way I show love to my enemy or somebody who's hostile or adversarial to me in some respects, sometimes I do have to separate myself from them because I have to guard my heart and I have to, protect myself, protect what the Most High gave me to protect. I can pray for them. I can wish them well. I can hope that they examine their heart and want to get right. I can seek to understand, why it is that they may feel some sort of opposition or way towards me at times. Pretty much, an enemy could be looked at as a hater, all right? Somebody who's maybe jealous or envious, and maybe their personal experiences have brought them to act out accordingly. But I do want to say one thing from Ezekiel 18. I'm not going to read the whole passage. 18, Ezekiel 18, verse 23. The scripture's ISR again. Says, have I any pleasure in the death of the wrong, declares the Master Yahweh. Is it not that he should turn from his ways and live? So the Most High Yahweh is not take delight in somebody perishing because they're wrong. He wants them to turn from their wrong ways and start living, start existing, start being, and being the being that he created them to be. Love is a human concept. The Father created us human beings. We messed up in the garden, as B.A. stated, and because the Most High loves us, right? With that unconditional love, he forgives. He gives us opportunity to have our transgressions remissed and return and restore life. I know there's a concept of the Jubilee, likened to the Greek word aphesis, remission. Remission is also forgiveness. Forgiveness is a pardon. It's a pardon. A pardon, you let something go and you give somebody an opportunity. You don't return some sort of get back or some sort of vengeance. Like the Most High says, the vengeance will be his. He will give that repayment to somebody who does wrong. But when the Most High remisses or forgives or pardons, that's actually restoring life. Also when we do the sacrifices, like we don't physically do sacrifices today. However, the principal concepts of the sacrifices is to elevate yourself, draw yourself near to the Most High Yahweh. And any time you actually were allowed by the Most High Yahweh to give a korban, an offering, you were getting permission and you were being forgiven. You were being brought back or restored. You were given an opportunity to admit you're wrong, to admit where you trespassed, and say that you're going to make an effort or try again not to go in opposition of the will of the Most High Yahweh Hashem, right?
Yes.
I think we miss the concept of love. Like B.A. said, we don't necessarily have to see verbatim the words, okay, this is where you have to forgive, this is where you have to forgive. We don't necessarily have to see that, but we can see underlying principles and concepts when we read. And, I just pray that we get to an area where we can have some sort of comprehension, some type of comprehension to where just because we don't see words verbatim, we can see the principles, we can see the message that's being conveyed through the language and in between the lines and the words. So with that, I'll yield. If anyone has anything else to say, you can chime in.
Man, all I always have to say is that it's very imperative, it's very important that as we walk, this set apart walk, or this walk of life, or this walk into the kingdom, or the various other titles and terms it's called, that we have to keep our eyes open, not just our literal eyes. We have to be open. We have to keep our minds open. We have to be changed. We have to be transformed. To forgive somebody in this society is considered radical. Because unfortunately in America, in this country, the popular norm is to have beef. The norm is to have drama because drama sells. Tension between people, fires between people. That's what gets people going. It's entertainment. It sells and it spreads like wildfire. And unfortunately, the same type of behavior or the same type of behavior, unfortunately, has come into the so-called religious world, to where we have, and I'm drunk in this cup. I can admit to my faults, to where I was having beef with or differences with other people, and it got beyond. And now all of a sudden, we have to come to these terms and realize: are we doing this for the Most High, or are we doing this for ourselves? But let me go deeper. We're always quick to accuse somebody and point the finger. You did this, and I'm better than you, and what you could do, I could do better. When you are constantly accusing somebody, that is a characteristic. Is that a characteristic of Hashem? Think about it. Who's known as the accuser?
The adversary.
Anybody can answer that.
The adversary.
Exactly. So when we're constantly pointing the finger at somebody, who are we representing spiritually? Man.
The adversary.
Go to John chapter 16 real quick. We can be easily deceived.
You still there,
I know
BA?
Sean gonna get. Yeah,
I'm here.
I'm still there. I know Sean. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay. Yeah, I know y'all gonna get on me about turning my pages.
Yeah, the flipper. You know what I'm saying?
Nothing wrong with a good sound.
Here we go. Pick it. John chapter 16. We're going to pick up at verse 1. And I'll read. I'm reading from King James. Mm-hmm. These things have I spoken unto you, that ye should not be offended. So when these people are coming at you and pointing fingers, you, I keep the Sabbath better than you. I wear my fringes. I go to church on Sunday and you don't. I do this. I do. You know all the stuff because we've all drunk in that cup and we've all done it. Let's keep going. I'm going to start back from the top. These things I have spoken unto you, that ye should not be offended. They shall put you out of the synagogues. Yea, the time cometh that whoever killeth you will think he doeth God a service. Deception. The way we treat people is a reflection of our relationship with Hashem.
Come on.
Very true.
And one more thing. When we're thinking we're pleasing Hashem, when we're always accusing somebody and pointing the finger and making it a point to make them look bad on social media, you're not pleasing Hashem. You're pleasing Satan, the devil. Cut and dry. And with that, sisters, I'm done.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to say about forgiveness, BA, I think we have the misconception about what forgiveness is. Forgiveness is not reconciliation.
It is not.
It's just, like I said,
it absolutely is
it's
not.
Just, exactly. It's about not trying to get back with somebody with the same thing they did to you. Like, if somebody came and stole your bike, you're not supposed to go back and try to steal theirs, Or if somebody pained you in a certain way, you're not supposed to wish any harm or pain on them will come back. You know, you pretty much what we call in the West Coast, let it ride. You know what I mean? You let it ride. Now, people will suffer their consequences from the Most High Yahweh. That's the trust and belief and faith we have in the Most High Yahweh when He says, "Vengeance is His." Right? Vengeance is His. Vengeance is His. Right? We don't have to do that. We don't have to go back and try to repay people for what they've done. But forgiveness is not reconciliation. When we forgive somebody, we're not saying we're going to be cool with them again. We're not saying we're going to be homies, partners, ice spoon coons, and nothing like that. We're not saying we're going to be a doormat, a continued doormat for them either. You know what I mean? We're not saying we're going to go back and start having relationships with them so we can be guilt-tripped and manipulated again and misused, abused, and mistreated. That's not what we're saying when we talk about the concept of forgiveness. I just wanted to put that out there real quick. Sis, you got anything to add? Well, before I do that, I want to remind the callers of the number 319-527-6239. Once again, 319-527-6239. Press the 1 to talk. Press the 1 to talk, all right? And you can join in the conversation, questions, comments, or concerns. We cool. It's all love over here. That's what we're talking about, right? Go ahead, sis.
I'm enjoying everything that I'm hearing so far, and I love how the brother brought up the point that sometimes you think you're doing something. When you're pointing a finger at someone else, you aren't doing the work of the Lord. Because really, I refer to it as the Holy Spirit. The Spirit of God should cause you to reflect within and give you the knowledge or the awakening to be accountable for your actions and to make self-change. So it's hard to do that when you're pointing the finger at everybody else. And what you said about, forgiveness is not reconciliation. I love actually retweeted it on Facebook. It's not. Forgiveness is for yourself, though. It is to release yourself of the anger, the bitterness, the turmoil. I've had to forgive people without apology. I've had to forgive people, and they've never came to me to say, I'm sorry for this, and for egregious things. And that was to set myself free. Again, I couldn't continue to hold that person in contempt of my emotions, even though I felt righteous in the thing, even though it was a righteous thing to do it because they was wrong. But forgiveness released me and allowed me to grow, allowed me to move forward, allowed me to begin the healing process.
Right. And you know what, to point back to what the brother who called in earlier before said, Asher, when he talked about the enemies of Yahweh being Amalek, this lines up with like the Pharaoh of Egypt who did not know Yahweh and pretty much did not want to know Yahweh. And it also lines up, to me, parallels with Romans chapter 1. There's a passage in there that says, the Most High will give you over to your reprobate mind. And B.A. and I have talked about this a lot. People think Hashem or the Most High Yahweh is a puppeteer and actually not allowing people to make the choices. I mean, it's not allowing people to make choices. A lot of people think the Most High Yahweh is a puppeteer pulling the strings of people, not allowing them to have choice because of the issue with Pharaoh's heart being hardened. But as you go into the text, especially the Hebrew, you can see that Pharaoh actually, he made a choice, and he kept making that choice. And then the Most High pretty much gives you over into that choice, right? So that if you continuously reject, right, then the Most High Yahweh hands you over to that state where it's a little bit difficult for you to get out of that state. You know what I mean? That means being sent over to your reprobate mind. So if you're choosing, hey, that's why the saying goes, be careful what you wish for, because you just might get it. Now, these people, such as Pharaoh, they're in a perpetual state of hatred. They're in a perpetual state of being an enemy. So the Most High gives them over to that. They made their choice, so they're going to get their reward. You know, and so I understand the gist of Amalek being the enemy. You know, because he constantly rejects.
That was his choice. Right.
That was his choice, right? And I got to be careful too, because
unless you find yourself on the wrong side. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Anytime that I am in opposition of the Most High's will, I can be looked at as rejected. You know what I mean? I could be looked at as rejecting, and I have to be careful. I have to be careful not to continuously be in that way, because I don't want to be handed over
free will.
into that. That's right. I don't want to be handed over into that state where I stay there. Exactly. So I'm definitely like picking up my stake, and you know, picking up that stake and denying myself every day. Like, I get a visual of taking up a stake, a beam, a heavy stick, right? Imagine it is to take up a heavy stick. You have it on your shoulder. It's heavy. It's weighted. It's wearing you down. You're sweating. You're probably hot. You probably got scrapes and scars on you by now. You're probably bleeding trying to take up the stake. Well, that's what it means to take up your stake when you're putting away your own desires. When you're putting away your own will. That's because it hurts the flesh. It hurts when we don't get what we want. It hurts when we don't get our way. It hurts when we don't, you know, experience everything that we want to feel right when we want to feel it. Right? And so I love the Most High Yahweh enough to understand that loving my enemies, I have to do the same, because it's like treat people how you want to be treated. You know, I want to see people come out of their wicked ways. I want to see people be successful and prosperous. I want to see people not have to resort to violence. I want to see people not have thoughts of suicide or being in a depressed mode. I want to see my people not be in an oppressed state. I don't want to see my people oppressing our own people. I don't want to see that. So I wish the best for them. You know what I mean? I wish the best for them. I always, you know, have their best interests at heart. You know, I have some sort of hope that they actually turn to the Most High will and want to get things right, tight, and correct. That's where my heart is at. We talk about displaying the fruits of the Spirit, but the thing is, we want people to turn back to being humans. We want people to turn back to being humanity, where we're serving one another, where we're using our gifts, our talents to help one another, build one another up, because that's what the kingdom is. And that's what the kingdom going to be. Kingdom is a house, it's a temple, it's a sanctuary where we're all living amongst one another, being a community, and the Most High is reigning king. Right? I want to read something. I know we're going in the Brit Hadashah a lot, the New Testament, but I want to read something from Romans chapter 5 verse. I'm going to read Romans chapter 5, and I'm going to go to Isaiah 49. I'm over here sounding like BA, too, over here flipping pages. You know what I mean? This is when Shaul Paul talked to the Romans. He says, but Elohim proves his own love for us, and while we were still sinners, Messiah died for us. While we were sinners. A lot of people don't get this concept, but I do. There's law-keeping sinners, and there's law-breaking sinners. We all are people who are in our flesh who are going to miss the mark sometimes. That's what it means to transgress. That's what it means to sin. We miss the mark. We miss the aim. We miss the goal. And while we were still in our contrary mind to Yahweh, right, while we were in a contrary mind, we were in an adversarial state. So being in an adversarial state means you could translate that word to being an enemy. Mm-hmm. While we were still yet enemies, he loved us enough to send somebody who would help bring us back through belief and shed blood and give us an opportunity to live again. Right? Now I read this I read the letter to the Romans, because this was prophesied to happen, and this was the mandate for the people of the Most High Yahweh, the Lord God of Israel. The people of Israel were supposed to be the spearhead nation who would help to usher humanity back to the garden. The garden is the kingdom. Right? This is Isaiah chapter 49. I'm starting at verse 5 for a little bit of context. It says, "And now, said Yahweh, who formed me from the womb to be his servant, to bring Jacob or Jacob back to him, though Israel is not gathered to him, yet I am glorified in the eyes of Yahweh, and my Elohim, or my God, has been my strength. And he says, shall it be a small matter for you to be my servant, to raise up the tribes of Jacob or Jacob, and to bring back the preserved ones of Israel? And I shall give you as a light to the nations, to be my deliverance to the ends of the earth." So what that translates as to is the ends, the word ends, is I shall give you as a light to the nations, to be my deliverance to the goal of the earth. The earth is also not just looked at as land, but looked at as humanity, people. To be my deliverance to the goal. The goal of the people is to help bring them back. So that's love. That's forgiveness.
That's love.
Right?
Yeah.
And these may not be the perpetual enemy of the Most High Yahweh. You know, these people haven't, some people haven't been turned over into a reprobate mind, being, you know, perpetually rejecting. These people have not been, you know, rejecting. And so these people who have not been rejecting, guess what? If they want to, they have the opportunity. And you know what? A light shines not so that it can, you know, like we say here on the West Coast, just shine and be glossy and flossy, so people can say, "Look at me, I'm shining, I'm listening." You know, this is not a light to floss with. It's a light so that people are drawn to it. You know, people say, "Come to the light." The light's supposed to be shining so that people can come to it, so you can see and live. Right? Love your enemies. Love your enemies. Let me say one more thing about the enemy. This is Exodus 23. This almost took me. And then I'm gonna go to Matthew 10, because a lot of people, you know, I know some people don't believe in Mashiach, Messiah, Yeshua, Jesus. I know some people don't believe in Jesus, but a lot of times Jesus didn't say things verbatim. He actually was spitting that concept and the principles. And we're going to go to one of those principles after I read. And we're going to go to one of those principles after I read. Ain't that right, B.A.? You know what I'm saying? Ain't that right, Khalida?
Most definitely.
That's right.
Again, like, just before you read that, just again, notice how she said the concept is there. That means you're going to have to look beyond the pages and open up your spiritual eye.
That's right. All right. Exodus 23. I'm going to start at verse 1, just to get some context. "Do not bring a false report. Do not put your hand with the wrong to be a malicious witness. Do not follow a crowd to do evil, nor bear witness in a strife so as to turn aside after many, to turn aside what's right, pretty much. And do not favor a poor man in his strife." That means show no favoritism, no partiality. You know what I mean? Wrong is wrong, right is right. You just got to call a spade and say it is what it is. Verse 4, though, and 5. "When you meet your enemy's ox or his donkey going astray, you shall certainly return it to him. When you see the donkey of him who hates you lying under its burden, you shall refrain from leaving it to him. You shall certainly help him." Now, this is for an enemy who's pretty much close to you. B.A., do we know that enemies are sometimes close to us? Khalida, do we know that enemies sometimes are close to us? Let me read.
A lot of y'all
Matthew
are
10.
sitting with your enemy.
Yeah, they could be in the same household with you.
Same
Oh, Come on, let's read it. Matthew 10, starting at verse 34. Do not think that I have come to bring peace on earth. I did not come to bring peace, but a sword. And sometimes, even though we're divided, we can understand why we're divided. Because wasn't it Joshua or Yehoshua? I think in Joshua 24, he said, "Who's on the Lord's side?" Right? And a sword. The Most High had the Levites pretty much draw a sword after the golden calf situation, right? And what was that? Exodus 33 or Exodus 34?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He said, who's going to be on the Lord's side, pretty much, right? All right. So let me.
You know what happened?
Yeah. There's got to a line got to be drawn, but we're trying to bring a proper understanding what it means to be on the Lord's side, right? So it says, "Do not think that I have come to bring peace on earth. I did not come to bring peace, but a sword." Pretty much, you got to have that defining line. That's pretty much what it is. I like to call it defining line. For I have come to bring division: a man against his father, a daughter against her mother. Well, let me see again. For I have come to bring division: a man against his father, a daughter against her mother, and a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. And a man's enemies are those of his own household. That's a reiteration from Micah chapter 7, right? He who loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me, and he who loves son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. And he who does not take up his stake and follow after me is not worthy of me. He who has found his life shall lose it, and he that has lost his life for my sake shall find it. All right? The enemies can be, our own household. People who are hostile towards us, people who have a difference of understanding, a difference of opinion, a difference of standing, a difference of experience, a different way of viewing things, But when you seek to understand, guess what? You don't have to think hostile of somebody anymore. You just understand you don't share the same views. Nothing more, nothing less, nothing further. Like Kalita said, we don't got to start throwing personal name attacks and ad hominems and start bickering back and forth.
Red herring.
Right. Yeah, exactly. You don't gotta do all that. I try to, like, we all have our beliefs, but I try to actually understand that these things are beliefs. We believe in things unseen. We have hope, expectation, and faith because of the created things and human beings we see. But just because we disagree on some things, doesn't mean we have to start, just holding, not holding grudges, but we don't have to see them as somebody who just out to kill us or out to get us, who want to, we don't have to see each other as wanting each other not to be existing or living anymore. All right.
Absolutely.
Y'all want to add
I like
anything?
how you brought that into your personal relationships, because let's see. I have been in an argument with someone I was close with, and I felt like there should be I don't care how mad you get with me, there should be a line of respect that you just don't cross, regardless. Right. You know what I mean? Like, at some point, the love you have for me should wake you up from all the anger, frustration you feel, and tell you to step back or fall back. Even if I'm dead wrong, all the way wrong and strong. At some point, you shouldn't seek to cause physical harm or mental harm to me because you love me. You know what I mean? Right. Like you're saying, like, you see your enemy's bull out there, take him into him. Like, because he's going to lose money. Like you said, that he's talking to people that you're in close proximity with. Like, it doesn't matter how upset you are with somebody, you don't seek to do harm to them or gloat and they're going to lose out. Let them have their back. Still be upset. Still know that they're wrong. Still hope that they come to a realization that, there needs to be reconciliation, but don't cross that line with someone that you're in relationship with. So I like that you brought that in.
Right, right. Respects the fact that we all have a choice. We all come to our different conclusions based on sometimes our experience. You know, we ain't got
And
to
I
force
understand it. Mm-hmm.
or berate or ridicule people because they share a difference of opinion. You know, and we're not supposed to even try to force nobody to agree with our opinion or share the same opinion. You know, like when you do that, you're actually manipulating and abusing. You're actually
Yes.
doing a disservice to your brother, and you're going against the Most High Yahweh in a sense, because the Most High Yahweh gave everybody the right of choice and the responsibility of choice, whether you want to choose life or death, right? We do have one caller, press of the one. So Sal, go ahead and bring the caller in.
All right, it's time to go to the phone lines. Once again, the number is 319-527-6239. Simply press number 1 to join the conversation. I see we have a lot of people on social media checking out the program, and everybody on the phone line. You have some Skype callers. Again, simply press number 1, and we'll add you in. Let's go to 510. You're live.
Hey, peace, everybody. How y'all doing tonight? Man, I know who that is. That's Town Business.
Yep.
What's going on? Chitty, chitty, bang, bang.
Don't start that, brother. Don't start that.
Hey, man, I was listening, man. That's y'all going in tonight, man. You know, I think it's a very important topic because I don't think people know how to love correctly. You know, and for me, because I've been lately, I've just been studying like the instructions, and I like to call them the instructions because that's, you know, they're pretty much instructions on how to build a successful and thriving nation. You know, so I mean I've been in that, and I've been reading over like Exodus and Leviticus for the most part, and you know I'm starting to see a pattern on. Just like the laws that you read or the instructions that you read about finding your neighbor's animal or mule out there and you know, giving it back to him, you know, I'm starting to see a pattern like all of these is trying to get us to understand the concept of love, you know, because if you did love people, then you wouldn't do these things, you know, and there's different kind of loves in there, just like the judgments. The judgments are love, but they're just, you know, they're like the last straw. Like you ain't learned your lesson. You know, you done already ran through the sacrifices. You done did all of this stuff, and now you got to get, you know, you got to get your butt whooped by the Father. You know, so I think that, you know, it's just it's a shame because most people can't see it. You know that that saying you brought it out earlier is you know, treat people the way you want to be treated. You know?
Absolutely.
And,
John chapter 7.
hey, and another one to go with that, I think they go hand in hand is don't judge anybody.
Matthew chapter 7. My bad. That was
right.
Matthew chapter 7. My bad. Go ahead.
Yep. And then I think the one, another one that goes hand in hand is don't judge nobody because you're going to be met with the same judgment that, you know, you put forth. You know, and I think we have a misunderstanding of what judgment is. You know, me personally, I think it's like when you condemning somebody, you know, and you enacting a judgment upon them. But, you know, I think both of those go hand in hand, you know, and I think that's what mainly what the elders and the Pharisees or the leaders was missing, you know, is they was hypocrites, you know. And they couldn't see past their nose, and they couldn't even recognize it, you know, because in all honesty, man, the Christ is like the ultimate, you know, love gift. You know, it's like, come on, you guys, get it right. I'm a take care of you. I'm because you've been supposed to been wiped out, but I'm gonna go ahead and do this for y'all, and you know, hopefully you can reciprocate this kind of love that I'm doing for you, you know, and we can't even see it. You know, because I know most of us been in the world. Some ain't, you know, some of us ain't been in the world as deep as others, but we all been in the world, and we all know that we've been, you know, doing ill, toward the Most High, and we realize that. But how can you expect the Father to forgive you if you're not willing to forgive somebody else? Especially when the people that you mad at is the sword. How you gonna get mad at the sword? The sword is there to get you back to your senses. It's like a slap when you're dealing with somebody that's hysterical. I mean, the slap ain't like I'm trying to be malicious to you. It's just snap out of it. You know what I'm saying? So it's like we mad at the sword. Most of us is mad at the sword, and we blaming the sword when we should be focusing that blame on us. Like I don't know the sister on the panel's name, but she made an excellent point talking about accountability. We not being accountable for the transgressions that we did, because if we never ever did these transgressions, then guess what? We wouldn't be able to do it. And a good example, and then I'll rest my case of we know that these other nations is not the enemy, they are, because they're, oppressing us, but we know that they're not the real enemy, because even when the Christ was in the room with Pilate, and Pilate was talking to him like, you mean you're not gonna say nothing? I'm the one that can grant you clemency or whatever, and you're not gonna say nothing. And the Christ looked dead at him and was like, he was like, you can only do what the Most High or the Father is letting you do. You ain't got no other power than that, And Pilate, man, I could just imagine him. He was kind of shook in his boots. I know, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I can imagine it, man. And then he told him, he was like, your punishment is, and I'm paraphrasing, but your punishment is not going to be nowhere near what theirs is, because they know better, And they was given this what do you call it? Responsibility, And like they say, with much responsibility, or with much
is given,
responsibility
is required.
Right. There you go. You know what I'm saying? And we saw that with Moses, our elder Moses, when he couldn't go into the land, And we saw that with everybody, because he had the responsibility of leading those people, and he messed up somewhere along the line. And that's the same exact thing that Christ was saying. That Christ was saying about Israel, in terms of what Pilate was talking about. So I think we need to learn how to accept this punishment, acknowledge what we did. That's the key part. Acknowledge that it's not nobody else's fault except for ours, and then we can go on ahead and start the healing process, because we ain't never gonna heal. It's like sorry about that. I promise it's the last point. But the brother Josh, man, he said a powerful statement, and I hope I'm messing it up. He said there's Bible readers, and then there's Bible believers. He's
Bible carrier. He said Bible and then carriers, huh? Is that the phrase?
Basically, he was basically saying you got people who study and they can they know scripture and they know where to go, all the addresses in the book, but they don't understand it. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And they don't, or they don't have faith in that the Most High is right. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I just want to rest my point on that, man. Y'all having a great conversation. Carry on, Brother Sal, Brother B.A., Sister Shan-T, and Sister, I'm sorry, I don't know your name. Powerful build. Khalida. Oh, Khalida. Sister Khalida, powerful build. I'm enjoying it. And, man, y'all have a great night. And I'm still tuned in. Chitty, chitty, bang, bang.
All right, brother Vinny.
Those are the new Vinny D T-shirts coming out. The chitty chitty bang bang.
All right, so y'all be easy.
All right, brother, take it easy.
Brother Vinny, you can go ahead and respond, Khalida, and then BA if you want to, Brother Vinny.
Yeah, I agree with everything you say. People have a form of godliness and deny the power thereof. Because what you'll find is the more you search the scripture, the more you can self-reflect and bring change on yourself. It should not be about putting anyone in a box or limitations on anyone, but really fixing you. And the more you fix you, the more you see that things will change. We know that love absolutely does bring change. I absolutely don't condone staying in any type of abusive, unhealthy, toxic relationships in any form, whether it be with your religious group, whether it be with your romantic partners, whether it be in work, within business. Definitely not self-harm to yourself, but also giving grace for people to have their own opinions, thoughts, and ideas, and allowing them to walk the journey. Only thing that you can do is pray, because no one comes into the Father unless the Father draws them, period. So there's nothing that you can do to control how anyone moves, but you can control yourself, and you can control the energy that you put out to the world.
Man, what Brother Vinny just said, or what Sister Jordan just said, man, that I don't have to say nothing else. Man, when it comes to that, I agree 100. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I ditto everything Sis Kalita said. You know, we don't condone any type of abuse, mistreatment, disrespect, hostility, violence, malice. We don't condone any of that. But when you pray for people, you're actually self-reflecting and you're self-judging. You're making sure you are right and tight, first and foremost, with the Most High Yahweh. And then people who see you acting out or conducting yourself in the behavior of a godly manner, showing your faith, that's your testimony, that's your witness. And that's what help draws after the Holy Spirit draws, right? After the Holy Spirit calls and draws people toward the Most High to have a personal relationship. I think we misconstrue the meaning of personal relationship. You know, like Sis said, this is a journey. And, you know, we're all on different areas of the path of the journey. We're all learning. And, you know, when my witness or when my testimony can help draw after the Spirit draws a person to want to come over into the faith, I look at that as a bonus. You know, that's a bonus. Like heaven rejoicing over one who returns, you know, who teshuvah, who repents, who comes back into the fold and the ways of the Most High. And you know, when we start to self-reflect and examine and look at the mirror, put a mirror up, we will spend less time worrying about what somebody else believes, don't believe, what everybody else is doing, what everybody else is not doing. We spend less time on that and focusing on where the Most High can sharpen us up. You know, where the Most High can just equip us just a little bit more. And
right.
With time, you know, we'll get better. With time, we'll grow and progress. With time, you know, we'll make the corrections to the mistakes. So yeah, the concept of love of the enemy. I know sometimes over here in America, you know, people call us African Americans, Negroes, Black people, whatever they want to call us. You know what I mean? That's because we've been stripped of everything. But the majority of our people see the enemy as you know, the white man. And so when they look at the text in the scripture, they'll try to twist, warp, and distort the text about loving your enemy to say, oh, that don't mean that ain't what that actually say, you know. And it's hard for them to grasp the concept of how the Most High can say, you know, the Most High will avenge his enemies, but yet still tell us to love our enemies and pray for our enemies and don't rejoice in our enemies' downfall. You know what I mean? That's because the Most High is a God or Elohim of justice. We don't understand what justice is. You know, we talk about principles, ethics, and standards, be justice. For every cause.
That's a whole another conversation.
Another conversation. For sure.
Right? For every cause, there's an effect. For everything you do, there's a result. You know, and there's a passage in Hebrews 12, I think, something about the Most High chastens the one whom He loves. You know, the justice or the discipline or the correcting, it don't feel good when it's rendered, but it's good for us. And these are the principles. It's good to understand. We should not rejoice that somebody who's adversarial to us is fallen. We always want to speak life into people. We want to speak righteousness into people. There's always a hope. There's always a hope. So I yield for right now. Kalita,
Yeah, by the way, sorry about that. By the way, we do have an email question, debatetalkview@gmail.com. Whenever you're ready, I can read it for you guys.
You ready? Go ahead, Sal.
All right. Here's the question. It says, how do you reconcile with a so-called enemy? Do you go out of your way to engage with that person or stay away? Or is staying away loving your enemy? For the most part, we tend to stay away, but let me read it again. For the most part, we tend to stay away, but is that giving off the wrong message to someone we label as an enemy?
Let me see.
I can read it again if you. I can read it again if you.
No,
go ahead, Bill. Go ahead. I'm going to read something, but go ahead.
I'm going to share my personal experience, and maybe that should bring some light to the question. Not too long ago, earlier in this program, I said how I used to have this mentality where the line was drawn. If you're rocking with Christ, you're a brother. If you're not, you're in. And my approach was very aggressive. And in the past, I used to always do that. And there's one in particular individual who I most definitely kept my distance from because we were having way too much heat. And then I'd say maybe a little over a year had passed, and I made it a point to be an adult and approach this person and talk to this person. And even though this individual still has his beliefs, I told him I forgave him. He said he forgave me, and there's no way that we shouldn't go at each other's neck based on our different beliefs. And even though we don't talk as much, but when I see this individual, they're still respectful. Hey, how you doing? I go about my business. He goes about his business. So when you're dealing with individuals like that, like I'm saying, that you have heat with, you may want to keep your distance for a while so the heat dies down. But me being a believer or calling myself a believer, it starts to affect you that you have some kind of quarrel or some type of fire with the person, and so the Most High will provoke you. He'll try you. So now all of a sudden, to be the bigger person, or I want to say that just on my end, it's best for me to make sure that I dot all my I's and cross all my T's, and if I burn any bridges, try to mend them, if that helps.
Kalita, you want to say anything?
Yeah, I think sometimes it is necessary to keep a distance. If you find, this is on a real basic level, that this person often triggers you, they often seek to get a response out of you. They know what your buttons are, and they often seek to push them. Then yes, staying away from them is an act of love, because you know if they push that button, they catch you on the right day, you're gonna give it what they're asking for. So out of respect for that person, out of respect for yourself, absolutely keeping your distance can be a form of loving your enemy. Like, hey, I don't even want to disrespect you on that level, but you keep pushing. You clearly keep pushing, and I respect myself enough, and I respect you enough to stay far, far away from you. So sometimes it be like that, straight up, and that is showing love. And then you work on your own self-healing by forgiving. So that forgiveness you work on with yourself without ever receiving an apology. And that's how you show love.
Hallelujah. I'm going to add to what Brother B.A. and Sister Kalita is saying. But, I like to preface it with some passages and some text here, and then I'm going to tie things together if I could. Proverbs 4, verse 23. Watch over your heart with all diligence, for out of it are the sources of life. So we do have a responsibility to guard our heart, where our emotions sit, right? Like Sister Kalita said, knowing what triggers us to pretty much want to act out in a violent manner is watching your heart, guarding your heart, and that's loving yourself and loving the person who's adversarial to you, because like Sister Kalita said, you don't want to take it there to where you start popping off and may do something physical that may hurt the person tremendously, right? There's a passage in Romans 12, and then I'm going to take this back to the Torah. Romans 12. If possible, on your part, be at peace with all men. Sometimes you just got to wave people goodbye. And what's the saying go? Let go and let God.
Mm-hmm.
You let the Most High deal with them. You let the Most High work things out with them, right? You put them in the hands of whom created them. And think about this. Our enemies are not enemies to us first. They're enemies to Yahweh first. And we're enemies at times to Yahweh. And I'm going to take this back to what me and B.A. was talking about, I think, yesterday. Where is it? There's a passage in Numbers 12. Yeah, Numbers 12. We're going to start at verse 1. It says, Now Miriam, and Aaron spoke against Moses, because of the Cushite woman whom he had taken, for he had taken a Cushite woman. Now there's some text from the Midrash that gives reason that it wasn't because this woman was necessarily a Cushite woman, but it possibly was because Miriam was opening her ear to some complaints from Moses' wife, and Moses' wife maybe have felt that Moses spending a lot of time with the nation and not necessarily to their marriage, was a concern. So Miriam thought she should take it upon herself to speak up about it, right? And they said, has Yahweh spoken only through Moshe? Has he not also spoken through us? And Yahweh heard it. And the man Moshe was very humble, more than all men who were on the face of the earth. And suddenly Yahweh said to Moshe and Aaron and Miriam, you three, come out of the tent, come out to the tent of appointment. So the three came out. Yahweh came down in the column of cloud and stood at the door of the tent, called Aaron and Miriam, and they both went forward. He said, hear now my words, right? If your prophet is of Yahweh, I make myself known to him in a vision, and I speak to him in a dream. Not so with my servant Moshe. He is trustworthy in all my house. I speak with him mouth to mouth and plainly and not in riddles. And he sees the form of Yahweh. So why were you not afraid to speak against my servant Moshe? Lashon hara. There's a Hebrew term. Lashon, tongue, hara, the evil. Lashon hara, the evil tongue. And what that is pretty much gossip, tale-bearing, backbiting, slandering. Not just telling gossip, but listening to stuff you're not even supposed to listen to. That's Lashon hara. You can speak ill of somebody, right? And so, verse 9. And the displeasure of Yahweh burned against them, and he left, and the cloud turned away from above the tent, and look, Miriam was leprous, as white as snow. And Aaron turned toward Miriam, and look, a leper. This is why I tie, along with the sages of the Midrash, we tie Shan-T Doc to leprosy. We tie gossip, slandering, backbiting, tale-bearing to evil speech, right? And in Leviticus, it lays out the instructions on how to deal with somebody who's leprous, right? So I'm not saying only you get leprosy from Lashon Hara, but it's one particular way you get leprosy, as we see here from the text. But somebody who was gossiping, tale-bearing, backbiting, slandering, right? They had to be what? The leprous had to be put out of the camp. Mm-hmm. Because you cannot have that infection or that plague meandering through, influencing the rest of the people. You got to be put out of the camp. And then the priest has to examine you before you can come back in to see if pretty much you learn your lesson. Sometimes we have to be separated, right? Sometimes we have to be separated. Sometimes we have to be put out. Sometimes we have to be moved away so that other people won't get infected, so that other people don't fall victim or get sick and start doing the same thing. It protects yourself. It protects other people, right? That's what being at peace with all men is. That's what loving your enemy is. Hey, enemy needs to be put out. They're toxic. It don't mean we love them. We do love them. We love them enough to know that they need to be separated so they can start their healing process.
Yep.
So
I was going to add the scripture.
Meditating. Go ahead, Khalida. Go ahead.
Genesis 31:49. This is a New Living Translation, but it's also called the mitzvah, which means watchtower. For Lebanon said, "May the Lord keep watch between us to make sure that we keep this covenant when we're out of each other's sight." That was a prayer that was prayed between two enemies. May the Lord watch between me and thee while we're absent one from another. Sometimes departing from someone is the best thing to do. Sometimes it's the healthy thing to do. And you pray God's watch in between.
Right. You pray like Brother Vinny said, they get oops upside the head and wake up and come to their senses. Right? You separate them and hope that they come to their senses. You know, same with me. You know, sometimes I need to be oops upside the head. You know.
Well, wake up.
Right. You know, we all need to wake up call, but we're all prone to making mistakes and being an enemy, and that's why, you know, this is why we're talking about what love your enemy look like. You wish them the best. You wish them well. You wish they would get well. You wish they would heal. You wish they wouldn't be sick. Right? Like me and Khalida alluded to earlier. You're not supposed to be a doormat for people. You're not supposed to stay around and let people infect you with wicked ways. You know, you're not supposed to let people sit around and let things manifest that are contrary to the Most High. That's loving. You know, I think we should all examine like the 6 different words in Greek for love. And I think sometimes when we hear the word love, we start thinking we got to be partners with somebody and start kicking it with them and hanging out with them and start drinking with them. You know what I mean? And you know, like, you know, having tea and biscuits. You know, we're not saying sit down and start having a feast day with your enemy. That's not what we're saying when we say love. You know, and I think there's different concepts and different definitions of love. You know, I think in Greek, off top, if I'm not mistaken, there's agape, of course, unconditional. Storge is like you share some sort of empathy with somebody. And then there's philias, which is like a brotherly love, and then there's eros, which is a romantic type of love. You know, but we're supposed to show agape, unconditional love. We're supposed to be wanting people to come to the light, come to their senses. You know. All right. BA, Sal, got anything to say? We could wrap it up.
You know,
there's no more calls.
Do you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, there was something I wanted to read a little earlier. And we can probably close out on this one. We're about to close up. I had to step away for a quick second. Apologize.
Okay. Sis, you wanna say any last closing remarks?
No, I've enjoyed. I have to go take care of my family. So sorry, but I've enjoyed talking with you all. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I've enjoyed everyone's insight, the callers, the brothers on the line. Thank you all so much for giving me this opportunity to share my viewpoint. I got to take care of my family. Charity begins at home, right? And they ready to
Hallelujah.
eat. All right, y'all. Y'all take care. Have a good night.
Much love and shalom to you.
You too, sis.
No problem. Thank you.
All right. Yeah. Go ahead, brother BA. Go ahead, and then we can start getting some things to subside here with the show. Go ahead.
All right. We're gonna go to. I'm in the Greek Septuagint. I'm going to go to Micah. Micah. From the Septuagint. And I'm going to read chapter 7, I believe. And we're going to pick it up at verse 18. And there's something there that I want to close on. Who is Hashem? Like he canceling iniquities and passing over the sins of the remnant of his inheritance. That's a question. And he has not kept his anger for a testimony, for he delights in mercy. He will return and have mercy upon us. He will seek our iniquities, and they shall be cast into the depths of the sea. Even all of our sins. He shall give blessings truly to Jacob, and mercy to Abraham, as thou swearest to our fathers according to the former days. Hashem does forgive. And as his followers and as his people, a lot of us like to call ourselves Israelites. If you're an Israelite, if you're going to call yourself by the name of Israel, we have to acknowledge this. If our God forgives us for transgressing and constantly doing this and doing that and keeping the law and replacing the law with this and doing that, well, guess what? We should be doing the same thing, forgiving others. With that, sis, close it out.
Hallelujah. I want to say, Kol Tehelim, Kol Kavod, L'Hafiteres, LeYahweh Abinu Eloheinu. All praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, our Father, our Elohim, our deity, our power. This was a nice conversation, a nice dialogue that needed to be had. And I really am thankful and grateful to the Most High Yahweh for Sis Khalida even having it on her heart, mind, soul, and spirit to even share that post. And I'm excited that she was willing to come on and have this conversation. These may not be easygoing conversations, and I hope the question from the person who asked it in the email, I hope we answered the question sufficiently, Yahweh willing. But I want to thank you, BA, for coming on. Sal, thank you so much for this platform. It's good to be back on the second quarter. I won't necessarily be doing lessons, but I'll be doing more of these dialogues here. If there's something on your heart, mind, soul, and spirit that you want us to talk about, hit me up. We can collaborate on it. My email is duckandodge1@gmail.com, DUCCNDODGE1@gmail.com. Thank you, Sal, so much for this platform, season 10. Hope we do you justice with going out with a bang. For this last and final season of Debate Talk for You. I would like to close out with the priestly Aaronic blessing after Brother B.A. says his closing remarks, and you too, Sal.
Okay, and one more thing to the audience. Next week, the Man Up segment will be back, and the show or the concept will be what constitutes a coon. Again, what constitutes a coon? And the special guest will be Brother Antoine from the Absolute Bible Truth. Brother Stanley, a debate talk for you legend, will be on, and Brother Kevin and a few others. And with that being said, sis, go ahead with the Arianic blessing.
Brother Sal, you got anything to say to the people before I close it out?
Yeah, I just want to say it was a great show today. Love Your Enemies, what it looked like. Special shout out to Khalida Jordan for coming on the program and bringing her information forth and blessing our audience out there with the edifying content. Hope we can have her on again. And once again, looking forward to the next second quarter. Oh, actually, somebody pressed number 1 right now. Okay.
Come on in. Call? Bring them on in.
Okay. Let's go to 856. You're live.
Hi guys, how are you?
Good. Come on. Hello, how you doing?
Doing great.
What's your name? Where you calling from?
Rosemaria from New Jersey.
Rosaria, or you said?
Rosemaria.
Rosemaria from New Jersey. Hi, sis. Thanks for calling in.
Thanks for taking my call. I just logged in.
No problem.
Do you have a question?
Whatever Spirit's got, I got a lot of things going on. I know there's a shift. Hopefully it's going the right way. What I'm manifesting, whatever you have, work, finances, got it all.
Yeah, I mean, definitely the Most High Yahweh is doing some things in these last days, and hopefully, our eyes are open and our ears are open to receive it, and be in the path and the direction that the Most High is taking us through when it comes to this shift.
True. Well, hopefully for the better and get going, if that makes sense. Had a little mishaps, ups and downs, and roller coaster ride for the last week, so getting that cleared up, so hopefully.
Keep you in our prayers, please. Thank you.
Well, we appreciate the call, as usual. And if there's any last-minute calls, I want to press number 1, you can do so now, I guess. 319-527-6239, or press number 1, we'll bring you in. We do got somebody else, okay. 408, you're live.
Hello?
408. Yes, how you doing? You're on air.
All right, I'm doing well. How you doing?
Pretty good.
Pretty good, huh? Yeah, so love your enemies, huh? Love your enemies, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
I'm way busy, calling from California.
Oh, sure.
Huh?
What's your perspective? Go ahead.
Yeah. So I was just gonna say something about the love your enemies thing. You know what I mean? The ones who are closest to you are the ones that can hurt you the most, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So love, doing what love does, love looks past all the things that they say, all the things that they do, and looks at the person, because love is an action, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. So when you lived in the world and you weren't able to see yourself, that was darkness. But when you became born of the Spirit, now you can see yourself. And since you can see yourself, then you get to see that the darkest negative is the brightest picture of God's love that you're walking in. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah, I'm preaching to the choir tonight. I'm sorry. God bless y'all.
No, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for reiterating that. That lets us know that, we flow in the same spirit of the Most High Yahweh, the Lord God of Israel. We appreciate that, brother. Thank you. That just reinforces,
That's right.
That just reinforces.
Yeah, we appreciate the people that's love the lesson and they're receiving information. Again, if you want to chime in quickly, you know the number 319-527-6239. Press number 1, and respond. We'll respond. I don't see anybody else pressing number 1 at this time. B.A., you want to chime in again? I mean, it's supposed to be closing statements for people chiming in.
B.A. might have stepped away.
Yeah, B.A. probably stepped away already. Okay. All right, Shan-T, you can wrap it up.
I'm still here.
Okay. You want to say anything, BA, lastly, before I do? I mean, because, we have to call this step in and press the one.
No, go right ahead. Go right ahead. Go right ahead.
Okay. As with anything BA and I do, we want you to take everything we presented here, take it back to the Most High Yahweh in prayer, meditation, and ask the Most High to lead, guide you into a sound, righteous conclusion. We love you. We love you with the love of the Most High, and we hope and pray that this has edified those who listen now, those who listen later. Thank you for those who called in with your comments and your questions. We could definitely all use some prayer and some well wishes that we get better, do better, and be better people as the Most High Yahweh created us to be. And I want to extend the peace and blessings to the people. So I'd like to close out with this. Hopefully one day the brother BA can learn it and say this over to people, right? But this is Numbers chapter 6, starting at verse 24. And then I'll translate. And then I want to say thank you all for listening to the second quarter. We'll be back next month. All right? Here we go. Yabarechacha Yahweh Reyishmaraka. Ya'er Yahweh Panav Alecha Wihuneka. Yisa Yahweh Panav Alecha Wayasem Laka Shalom. And that is, may Yahweh bless you and keep you. May Yahweh make his face shine on you and show you favor. May Yahweh lift up his face towards you. That means accept you. And may he give you shalom, peace, which is wellness, completeness, wholeness. All right, y'all. It's your girl, sister Shan-T, brother BA on the second quarter. Shalom.
Welcome to the planets of debates. Debate Talk Free Radio.